Hey, you, yeah, you need some lumen? Okay, no, jokes aside, welcome to this tutorial. At the end of this tutorial, you're going to have a fully functional, RESTful Lumen microservice, API, whatever you want to call it, and you can use this in all kinds of your front-end applications then. For example, you can make this API, just like any regular REST API, you can use the HTTP client in Angular or whatever the hell React and Vue are using, because I just have most of my experience is in Angular. So yeah, but who am I to be teaching you all of this? If you'd like to skip the introduction, the story time and everything that's gonna take up like 3 to 4 minutes, feel free to click on the box that should pop up either here, if like the pop-in boxes are still a thing in YouTube, or you can feel free and just like look in the descriptions if I have like any timestamps or something. There should be something at this point. So anyway, my name's Sebastian, I study computer science in Austria, and I'm currently studying at FH Wiener Neustadt, or Fachhochschule Wiener Neustadt, if you guys like German, I guess. And yeah, I want to teach you like how to make this in Lumen because I need it for work. I'm working part-time at a company that specializes in like gardening equipment, tools and everything. And my boss came to me the other day, or like a long time ago, and said, hey, I need you to program something for us, a solution, in a way that all of us create like those price tags and price signs with Word. And they don't look nothing alike. One person does this, the other does that. We need a unified way and something that makes it easier to like edit all of this. And the way that I achieved this initially was to just create an Angular application, which looks something like this. I don't know, maybe I put it on the screen. But the problem with all of this was that I created this Angular application and it worked. And then my boss came to me and said, this is really great, but now we need the option to like save all the price signs into a database, then get them out and everything. I was like, yeah, sure, this is fine. Am I allowed to use like Express or something, just like getting a web space for like, I don't know, like that's not shared hosting, but something where I can deploy a node server or something? And my boss leaned in and said the words that terrify me. No, you're not allowed to do that. We have paid for web space for a couple of years, and this is the web space you're gonna be using. Make it work. My heart sank a little bit to the floor as I realized that now I need to use my old friend that has fought with me through countless hours of coding at night. That's PHP. Yes, now we need PHP, and I was like, okay, there's Laravel. Is there any PHP framework that's like specifically dedicated to making APIs? Something RESTful, something that I can work with, something that I have encountered already in the wild. And then I stumbled upon Lumen, which is essentially Laravel, but like really, really, really small and cute. So this is what we're gonna be using. We're gonna be using Lumen to create the RESTful API. I'm gonna show you how, and we're even gonna pull in Laravel's own like creation assistant code generation tool which is called PHP Artisan. If you're familiar with Angular, you might know that Angular uses like the ng-generator something commands to generate all the components for you. Well, Artisan is the same thing for PHP. So we're gonna have minimal work to do at this, and probably my explanation is gonna be longer than the entirety of the coding section we're going to have before us. What do you need to follow along? You're going to need Composer, which is similar to the NPM, the Node Package Manager, just for PHP, which allows us to generate a project with Lumen and do all the important steps that we need to do in order to generate the project. We're going to be needing a GitHub package for the PHP Artisan. I will link that in the description and show you how we can integrate this further down the line. And the last thing that we need is probably a little bit of motivation and a good cup of tea. I don't know, suit yourself. I have some good black tea here. Yeah. So, anyways, I hope you're gonna follow me along for this journey. And let's get going with setting up the components and the environments. I hope you have your own favorite IDE. A lot of people use Visual Studio Code, but for this, I'm going to use JetBrains PHP Storm because it's amazing. And I get it for free with university, so these are kind of the fun specs. So let's go, without further ado, I guess. So what we're going to be creating today is a simple books API that will allow us to get all books. We could get a specific book. In this case, if we use 1, we get The Prince of Milk by Insomnia. If we use 2, we're gonna get the book Captivate, The Science of Succeeding with People from Vanessa Van Edwards. We can also make a book. With great power comes great responsibility, Uncle Ben. We can see it here. With great power comes great responsibility. Oh no! After realizing that that is not a quote, we can easily delete it by using this URL and then entering the ID of the book. In this case, the ID of the book is 5. So we've entered it here, we click send, and the book has been deleted successfully. Or in this case, the quote. And if we take a look at the list again, we can see that we have a small error here. Somebody who entered the books has misspelled the author's name and wrote Austin Kleon instead of Cleon. So let's fix that real quick by using the update method and correcting the author's name here. Perfect. And now if we get all books again, we should see the author's name being spelled correctly, and we missed that with great power comes with great responsibility. Oh, yeah, that's what we're going to be creating. With that, let's get into the juicy part of the tutorial. So, the things that you're going to need are all in the description, and I think if I get to it on like a GitHub repository. The first thing you might want to do is go onto Google and search for Lumen Laravel. And then you should come to either the documentation site here or the normal site where you just click documentation. And this is the beautiful documentation of Lumen, where we're going to be getting everything that we're going to be needing. So what you're going to be needing for this is an IDE. I'm using PHP Storm, but feel free to use Visual Studio Code or anything else. I have installed XAMPP as my server. Just pretty standard, to be honest. Just install it. After you've installed it, click those 2 happy buttons to start the servers. And I'm going to take you through the rest where we set up the database and everything else. It's really super easy. You can also install WAMP, or if you're on Mac, you can install MEMP. MEMP is like the tool that a friend of mine uses who does like a lot with like Mac OS and everything, so you should be good to go and golden there. To install Composer is really simple. If you're on Windows, just click download, and then download and run the Composer setup exe. It's really easy. If you're on another OS, I think they should have the explanations, everything here, or this page should be an entirely different page, depending on what OS you're running. So that is really nice. Now you're gonna need one of 2 API testing tools. You either take Insomnia, so you can like test the API, or you take Postman. It's up to your preference. I just really love the design of Insomnia. To get Insomnia, just press get started for free, download the app, and download the app for Windows, Mac, or Linux, or whatever you're using. So to create a new Lumen project, we go over here to the Lumen homepage, click on documentation, scroll down a bit, and then we get our Composer, create project, Lumen, whatever. We need to modify this command a bit by going back and removing the preferred distribution, because Lumen 9 just dropped recently, but sadly the code generation tool, the Artisan, has not yet been updated to the version 9. So I'm doing this tutorial on version we want it on version 8.x. Yeah, that should be good. Not 8.x, we want it on 8.star, because star can stand for anything. 8.x would be a bit of an error. And we're just gonna call this books_API. Oh no. Books_API_tutorial. And yeah, you might see me look down a bit. That's just because I'm not used to typing with having the microphone in front of me. So this is all relatively new to me. But I thought, why not document the journey and maybe get a few laughs out of people along the way. So with all that set up, we now create a new Laravel Lumen project. The Books API tutorial. You can feel free to name this a little bit different or omit the tutorial. And now, with luck, we can hit enter and it works. And do not forget, while everything is updating and setting up, to take a small tea break. Nice. So this is now finished. What we now need to do is we need to open. And let's open up the htdocs folder, go into... We named this Books API tutorial, and we want to open it in this window. Usually Laravel, the big parent framework to this micro framework, comes with a code generation tool similar to ng-generate, But Lumen does not come with this tool, so we would have to create all the components by hand if we do not include this. We definitely want to include this, so I'm gonna show you really quickly how we're gonna do this. So to include the flipboxstudio lumen-generator, it's really simple. To do that, we just simply copy it, hop on over to a freshly generated project, pop open the terminal, like a cold one with the boys, and paste it in. Don't be scared by the yellow nonsense. It's not nonsense, it has its place in the world, but it's not gonna break your code at this point in time. Because I know the first time I saw it, I was really scared, but the project works nonetheless, and I can take a look at the deprecation nonsense when I get the time. 36 packages you're using are looking for funding. Well, I would love to fund these projects, if I get there someday. What we need to do now is copy this here. If you've used Express or something similar, you know that you need to register any middleware or anything that you're using on the components. And in this case, we definitely need to register our Artisan into the application. How we can do that is really simple. We just copy this here, go over to Bootstrap, App, and scroll all the way down till we arrive at this point where all the things get registered. We just pop it down below. While we're here, we might as well want to uncomment these two things here. Facets is something that I can't really explain, but you can easily Google it. It has something to do with like objects and I think injection or something, but eloquent is something I can really simply explain. If you work in the MVC framework, which Lumen is built around, like Laravel is, then you, or in general, really want an object relational mapper, which is a fancy term just meaning that something will just easily manage all your database problems, and eloquent, as the name says, is gonna do it superbly. For example, you can get everything of like an object or something. For example, we have a books collection, or not a books collection, we have a book model, and we want to get each and every single one of the books. We can simply use books ... all, and we can get all the books from the database. This is so amazing. For now, just trust me on commenting eloquent. And let's go down. We don't really need any middleware or routing for the authentication for this, but let's uncomment it anyway, because maybe further down the line we want to add authentication to this. And I mean, it's not hurting me at this point in time. Maybe later, like all my ex-girlfriends.
Emotional damage!
If you do not want to install Artisan for some unknown reason, you can use this to easily start up your server, and paste it here, hit enter, and your server will be up and running on localhost. But since this is like a really cumbersome command and I don't want to memorize it all the time, we can just say PHP Artisan serve. Like the gentleman and master he is, he just serves a website to us for no reason. If you're interested in any more comments that the PHP Artisan gives you, just look here. The first thing we might want to do is set an application key. This is really important. And for that, we open up a new terminal session and just say PHP Artisan. This is the equivalent to ng-generate. And we paste this in key.generate. Then we lean back. And look at that. It gave us the key. It automatically put it in there. And now we have a key that we can take and bring with us everywhere to make all of this secure. Well, the next thing we need to do is we need to open XAMPP or MAMP or whatever you have installed and go to the admin panel and set up our database. This might be really confusing and intimidating, but let me show you. Let's say books API underscore tutorial. Copy this, make sure that it's like UTF-8, general, and CI. Now our database is done. Don't worry about what I have here, because I've already created a database that's called books, and because PHP admin just does a really beautiful thing, it already started to categorize them, because book underscore API, and then we have books underscore API and books underscore API tutorial. Don't worry about that, you won't get that. This is everything that we need to do right now in PHP admin, because the rest is going to be handled by this beautiful system that we have. Now we enter the database, the normal root user for PHP admin is root, and he has no password. Do we need to change anything here? Nope, seems really solid. We finally get to create our books model. If you have no idea what a model is, or if this still confuses you, don't worry about it. It's part of the MVC framework. As far as I've been using it, MVC stands for Model View Controller, and this is a mini overview. If I'm wrong in how Laravel does it, please correct me on this in the comments. I hope I will be corrected on this. But how this is working is, usually in Laravel you have a view that is displayed to usually the user. In this case we don't really have a view, I guess, because we're not seeing anything in the browser. We just get the response back, if that's a view. But with the controller, and the controller talks to the model, and the model talks to the database. So the model is usually a direct link to the database, and you will see this later that with the controller that handles the requests that the user pushes to it, and then asks the model, hey, please give me all of the books we have stored. It will just do that. Because we've set up PHP Artisan, creating our model and even a migration for it that automatically pushes to the database is really simple. We can easily do that by using PHP Artisan make model book with the -m flag, hit enter, and boom, look at that. We can now look under app, models, and we'll see our book model sitting perfectly chill here. And if we go under database, come on, don't disappoint me here in front of everyone. Yes, perfect. We see this nice table. This is something that's beautiful about Laravel and or ORMs in general, I think, that I can now define my database in here, inside the code. And then the tool and the program can just migrate it to the database. Let's say we have books here. So we want to have a table with a string. And let's give it the title of title. And each book should have an author, of course. Beautiful, perfect. Okay, now that we have this, we need to go back into the model, and let's copy that, and say, okay, hey, which columns do we want to be fillable? Because there could be a lot more columns in here that we actually do not want the user to access directly, similar to like timestamps or IDs or something. So we need to tell the model, hey, which of the columns is actually good for the user to access? We can do it really easily by using $fillable. It's a protected variable. Pop. And we paste the title in here, and let's hop on over. And the author. This just says that, hey, these two fields in the database are, you can set them as you wish. And don't forget the semicolon. So if you're interested, under the Laravel docs, you can see all the available column types. And as you scroll on, you see there's a whole lot, from tiny integer, medium text, date. It's essentially the equivalent of like all of the data types you get inside a standard MySQL database. So for all that done, let's push this to the database. So we use PHP Artisan migrate, and boom, it did the migration for us. And in case you don't believe me that it worked, let's hop on over, go to our Books API tutorial, and you see, yes, we have a books thing updated automatically for us. This is really amazing. Because not only is it doing that, but it's also keeping a record of all the migrations it has done. So we can later on also roll back if we make a mistake or if anything happens that we don't want. And this makes the database semi-versionable in this case. Not the contents, but like the construction of the database. Okay, but this is the model, so the database side is taken care of. But what we need right now is we need a controller that we can send requests to. So PHP Artisan to the rescue again. We can create a book controller like this by using PHP Artisan make controller book controller, and then we want to attach the resource flag to it because we want to know that it's like an API resource. So we're gonna get a few methods predefined that are gonna be really useful to us. So after executing this, we can go to app.php controllers, going into the book controller, and there you see all of this. Don't be intimidated. We want to stick to the basics, and I don't really know what to do with like the show or I don't know, so some of the other things here. What we will need is the index, which allows us to, which we will use to simply display all of the books. Create, we will not need this, can delete this because I don't wish to show the form. We will use store to do the create part of a CRUD to store this in the database. Then show, we want to show a specific book, that's also okay. Edit, we can remove that because we do not wish to show the form for that. We have update here, that's also good, and destroy, perfect. Now let's delete the comments above there because they usually give us some, let's say, interesting responses if we try to return JSON. And we're using an IDE that actually cares about the nicely put out signatures here. Okay, so now I have all of these functions. And before we create them or finish them, I'd like to do something very specific. And that's going to the routes and defining our endpoints. If that sounds like hogwash to you, what I just said, don't worry about it. We literally just want to define that if we go here to the browser and go to the web page and we say /books, that we actually find the books, but well, we did not find the route or anything for that. So we need to define it here. The way we do that in Laravel is by using simply the router. Then we define the method. In this case, we want to get a resource, and we're just going to type in here /books. As you can use the BookController actually and just paste it in here. So we can say BookController at, and then we can take the method name. In this case, we want to use the index method. And so whenever we go to /books, it will call the index method. And I can show you that really quickly by returning a response, putting this into JSON, and let's say we want to return works. Yeah, that should do it. So if we refresh this page, we see works. Nice. That's cool. So I'm gonna define all the other endpoints and show you what they look like. Okay, I've now defined all the endpoints. So you can see we have get books with the wildcard ID. So that means, like in the example we used before, that if I want to get a specific book, it doesn't matter what number I type in here. Then we can create a book with the post method here. We can create a book. We can update a book that we've already created, and we can destroy a book. And all of these routes should work. Now, going back to a BookController, let's show you some of that magic I was talking about. We're going to use app. Please do not complete this. app/models/book. Perfect. We're going to use a book model. It's similar to like an include in another language. And we're gonna say, okay, we wanna get all of our books. $book, oh no, don't use capital. $books is equal to, now comes the magic part. Book all. That's it. We've now successfully gotten all the books in this single line. Do you know how long this usually takes in PHP? At least 3 lines. And that does not include the for loop that you have to run. So this is pure bliss to me. And if we want to return it, just like we've seen before, we can use return response. Let's return a JSON response and throw the books in there. Perfect. Okay, to make this simple and compact, we can just take this, copy this, and paste it into the show because the logic is relatively similar. The only thing we need to change about this is that instead of all, we need to use find, because we want to find a specific entry, and we're gonna find the entry of the ID that we have pasted in. And for the delete, we can do the same logic here, but the only thing that we need to adjust is that we need to paste this in here, which is just books delete. Okay, let's finish this up by completing these 2 functions, and then our API should be done. Okay, so here we need to do 2 things inside the creator and inside the store. We need to validate the user input. Perfect. And then we need to add it to the database. How do we do that? It's really simple to validate something in Lumen. We just use this. We validate the user input by using this class, so the class itself. Validate, give it the request and an array. What's inside the array, you might ask? Well, we're going to use the title and define some things that are important for the title. In this case, the title is required. Let's make sure I typed that correctly. And as the title is required, so is the author. Now that we've validated both inputs, it's time for us to create our new book. So we're gonna make a book variable and set equal to a new book. Inside this book variable, we need to set both values, one for the title and for the author that we just got from the request. So we set the title equal to request input, and we're gonna take the title here and paste it in here. And we need to do the same thing as we did above here for the author. And last but definitely not least, we need to save the book to the database by using save. And we can just return the object by using the same return from above and giving it our book class. We can literally take this entire functionality, copy it, and paste it into our update. With the only thing we need to change is that instead of generating a new book, we just want to find the book that we mentioned here. Because we have the ID parameter here that we can use. And that should be it. Let's restart our Artisan in case anything severe has changed. And let's hop on over to our Insomnia. If it's your first time using Insomnia, don't be scared. I'm gonna teach you the ropes. So you need to create a new request collection. Let's call this book API. And to start out, you need to create a new request. And we're gonna call this get all books. Perfect, this is a get method. If we wanna get all books, then we can just use books. Remember, we got this from here, where we literally did the books endpoint and pointed it towards the index. So if we click send on this, we have one book in here, The King of Milk. The reason why we have that is because I already did some testing on this to make sure it works. Let's create a new request, and let's say we want to create... what do we want to create? Let's say we want to create a book. If you want to create a book, go on over, check that this is a post request, put this on post, and let's copy this over. We can copy this, go on over here, take this like a cheapskate. Yeah, I know, I could just write it out, but I'm kind of like that. And let's send it off. Oh no, the title is required and the author field is required. That's kind of nice because that's what we actually wanted. So we need to change this from body to multi-part form. Let's copy the title here. Let's copy the author. And let's say a personal book by an author that you used to know. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Perfect. We added a personal book. If you go to all books, we see that we have all books here. If we want to get a specific book, we can just add the ID of the book here. So if we want to get the first book, that's not possible because there's no first book. We get the second book, we can get this. And if we want to get the third book, we can get this here. And if we remove this, not put create here, we can't do that with that. But if we do this, that's perfect. And let's say we want to update something about a personal book and call it a personal bonk because for some reason we thought that was funny. A personal book has the ID 3, so we put an update here on 3 and we call it a personal bonk. So we updated it to a personal bonk and go to, well, you know how the meme goes. Personal bonk. And if we now check up on all the books, we can see a personal bonk. And, well, unless YouTube decides to strike me down for doing that, we need to create something new to censor my own created content. We will call this just delete. It's just the name that we use. And we're gonna copy this over, paste it, say delete, and say free. Yep, personal bonk has been deleted. One small thing that I figured out that we could change, instead of telling us the information about the book once it has been deleted, we can also just say book has been deleted. Perfect. So if we now want to delete I think it was the second book as well, we can just say book has been deleted. And that could also give us information. Just depends on what you want. Now everything is empty again. And with those words, I think you need to pat yourself on the back. You made it. You have your own RESTful Lumen API now, and it didn't take you forever. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for sticking along. And if you want me to add any functionality to this, like a picture upload or something. But that's a fantasy for another time. And, well, with those words, I say thanks for your attention, and it's been Sebastian, signing out.